The day the lawyer called, I thought it was finally over, the long, suffocating wait, the endless silence, the polite lies. My grandmother had been gone for 3 months, and every day since her funeral had felt like walking through fog, unsure of where I stood or what would come next. She had been the one constant in my life, the only person who ever made me feel like I mattered without conditions. And now, even in death, she was still somehow the center of everything. "Can you come in tomorrow?" the lawyer had said, his voice neutral but measured. "We'll be reading the will." I remember sitting on the edge of my bed after the call ended, staring at the peeling paint on the wall. My parents hadn't told me anything, no details, no expectations. In fact, they'd barely spoken to me at all since the funeral, aside from the occasional curt message. That alone should have warned me. But hope has a way of sneaking in through the cracks, especially when it's tied to someone you loved. Grandma used to tell me, "Don't worry, sweetheart. I've taken care of you." She'd say it with that soft smile, her wrinkled hands patting mine like she was sealing a promise. I believed her. I needed to. The next morning, I arrived at the lawyer's office early. The building was old but well kept, with dark wooden panels and the faint smell of paper and polish lingering in the air. I sat in the waiting area, clutching my bag like it might somehow steady me. When my parents walked in, they didn't greet me. My mother glanced at me briefly, her lips tightening, while my father avoided eye contact entirely. That was the moment I knew something was wrong. We were called into the office together. The lawyer, a thin man with silver hair and tired eyes, gestured for us to sit. He shuffled some papers, cleared his throat, and began. "Thank you all for coming. We are here to review the last will and testament." His voice was steady, practiced, detached. At first, everything sounded normal, formal language, legal phrasing. My grandmother's estate was outlined in careful detail, her house, her savings, her belongings. I listened intently, waiting for my name. It never came. Instead, everything, every last piece, was left to my parents. I felt the air leave my lungs. There was a pause, a brief silence that stretched too long, like everyone in the room was waiting for something. For me to react, maybe. But I couldn't. My mind was blank, my chest tight. And finally, the lawyer continued, almost as an afterthought, "There is one item specifically designated to you." He looked at me. A 1987 sedan currently in storage. It belonged to your grandmother. A car. That was it. A rusted, decades-old car. I blinked, certain I'd misheard. That's all. The lawyer hesitated. "According to the will, yes." I turned to my parents, my confusion quickly turning into something sharper, something more desperate. "This doesn't make sense. She told me, she said she took care of me." My mother let out a small, dismissive laugh. "Oh, please. You always did hear what you wanted to hear." "That's not true," I shot back, my voice trembling. She wouldn't just leave me nothing. "She didn't," my father said coldly. "She left you a car. Be grateful." Grateful. The word echoed in my head, absurd and cruel. "I want to see the will," I said, turning back to the lawyer. "The actual document." He nodded slowly, sliding a copy across the desk. I scanned it, my hands shaking. It looked official, legitimate. But something felt off. The language was too clinical, too impersonal. My grandmother had always been warm, even in writing. She used nicknames, little phrases that were uniquely hers. This document felt like it had been stripped of all that. "Was this the original?" I asked. "It is the version filed with the court," the lawyer replied carefully. "Filed by who?" He glanced at my parents before answering. "Your parents handled the submission." Of course they did. A cold realization began to settle in. Was there ever another version? The lawyer didn't answer immediately, which told me everything I needed to know. "I'm afraid I can't discuss that without further review," he finally said. My mother stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous. We're done here." My father followed, already heading for the door. "Come on, let's go." I stayed seated. "You're not even going to question this?" I demanded, my voice rising. "You don't think it's strange that I get nothing except a scrap car?" My mother turned, her expression hard. "What's strange is your entitlement. We took care of your grandmother. We were there. You think you deserve more than us?" "I didn't say that," But that's what you're implying, she cut in. You always were ungrateful. The words hit like a slap, but they weren't new. I'd heard variations of them my entire life. Still, this felt different. This wasn't just another argument. This was something bigger. Something final. I just want the truth, I said quietly. You have it, my father replied. Now stop making a scene. And with that, they left. I sat there for a long time after they were gone, staring at the will in my hands. The lawyer eventually cleared his throat. If you have concerns, he said gently, you may want to consult an independent attorney. There are avenues you can explore. I nodded numbly, folding the document. Thank you, I whispered. When I stepped outside, the sunlight felt too bright, almost harsh. The world carried on as if nothing had changed, as if my entire reality hadn't just been flipped upside down. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I found myself walking without direction, my thoughts spiraling. Memories of my grandmother surfaced. Her laughter, her stories, the way she always made space for me even when no one else did. She wouldn't have done this. I knew it with a certainty that cut through the confusion. Which meant one thing. Something was wrong. The next day, I went to see the car. It was parked in a storage lot on the edge of town, surrounded by chain link fencing and overgrown weeds. The attendant led me to it without much interest, pointing lazily before walking off. There it is. I approached slowly. It was worse than I'd imagined. The paint was faded and chipped, the metal spotted with rust. One of the tires looked half deflated, and the windshield had a long crack running across it. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. I almost laughed. This was my inheritance. I reached out, running my fingers along the hood. The metal was rough, cold. For a moment, anger surged through me, hot and overwhelming. Was this some kind of joke? A final insult? But then I noticed something. The glove compartment was slightly open. Frowning, I walked around to the driver's side and pulled the door open. It creaked loudly, protesting the movement. The interior smelled of dust and something faintly familiar, like old fabric and time. I slid into the seat, my heart pounding for reasons I couldn't explain. The glove compartment hung ajar, just enough to reveal a corner of something inside. I reached out and opened it fully. Inside was a small envelope. My name was written on it. In my grandmother's handwriting. Everything inside me went still. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, tracing the familiar curves of her script. This wasn't official. This wasn't typed or sterile. This was her. Slowly, I opened it. And as I began to read, I realized the rusted car might not be the worthless scrap everyone thought it was.